Good morning, Internet. This is Alex the Sudoku, and it is Sunday, the 30th of August 2020. We have another medium New York Times Sudoku for you today, and we are going to solve it with Snyder notations. So let's dive right in. Let's switch to candidate mode first. So what we do to start with is to basically go around the board and see how the numbers from 1 to 9 interact with each other, but we're going to stick to one number at a time. So starting with 1s, we can see these 1s interact in these cells, meaning there has to be the remaining 1 has to be in one of these 2 cells left. So we pencil mark them in, providing we only have a pair of them, basically. So immediately we have a bit of an advanced, slightly advanced technique. Over here in this cage, normally we'll pencil mark in 3 1s over here because of that one seeing those 3 cells. But with Snyder notation, we're trying not to pencil mark them in, but basically visualize it in our head. And this is an example of why it's quite useful to go around by the digits, because by sticking to the 1s, I can see the triple over here in my head, visualizing that these columns are now locked off. So by using that, I can use that 1 locking that cell to give me another set of pencil marking there. Now, if I was looking cage at a time, then I'll probably be just focusing on the numbers, like all the numbers, trying to find what candidates can that cell be, what candidate can that cell be, etc. And I may miss the triple 1s that were here. So that's the reasoning behind the rationale behind why I go around the board by each number, basically, and pencil marking in 2 numbers at a time. So let's have a look at these 4 2s. They all point to this cage. Whenever there are 4 of the same numbers pointing into the same cage, that means 2 of the columns are ruled out and 2 of the rows are ruled out. So there has to be a single cell left where the number can go. So there's always a solution when there are 4 numbers pointing into the same cage. So we know it's here because of these 2s locking those columns and these 2 locking those rows. So we have a similar situation here as before with this cage. The 2 sees this column here, but this time we also have a 2 over there. So we can actually pencil mark in the 2s. And these 2 now forms a pointed pair looking up in this column, so they can't contain any more 2s. So in tandem with this 2 over here, the 2s have to be locked in those 2 cells in the top cage. Can we do anything else? Not that I can see. So that's all the 2s we can do now. So let's move on to 3s. These 3s immediately points to a confirmed 3 over here. These 2 3s also lock out these cells, giving me another pointer pair here, locking this column. So I've got another pair of 3s down there. These 2 3s gives me a pair of 3s over here. And I think that is all the 3s I can pencil mark in now. So let's move on to 4s then. 4s. We're not having any luck with 4s just yet, so let's move on to 5s. So these 2 5s locks a pair over there. And let's see. Oop, pardon the noise on the desktop. Let's see, 5s. So these 2 5s also act on this cage, giving me another pair of 5s there. So that in turn gives me a pair of 5s over there. Oh, pardon me. I really hope the compressor worked on my software that stops the sneeze from being too loud. So what else can we do? 5s, 5s. Can't see anything else with 5s, so let's have a look at 6s. So these 2 6s locks a pair of 6s over here, because that 6 also blocks that row. That's all I can see of the 6s, so let's move on to 7s. We've got a pair of 7s locked down here because of these 2 7s. This 7 also sees that cell, which means we have a pair of 7s up here. So that acts as a pointed pair, which looks over here. And I've got a 7 down here, which means that 7 has been resolved. And by just erasing the pencil marking 5 over there, we're left with a single candidate of 5. so we can place it knowing that it has to go in there. So the 5 doesn't give us anything else, so let's move on. Let's carry on with the 7s. So these two 7s also locks a 7 in here. And does that give us anything else? Not that I can see. So I think that's all we can do with 7s for now. So let's move on to 8s. So these two 8s locks a pair of 8s down there. These two 8s locks an actual 8 in this cell. So that ruled out the 1 and the 2 at once, meaning the 1 and the 2 remaining in the pencil markings have to be correct. So here's a little bit of a tip for you. When you have a column or a row where you've only got 2 candidates left and they're already pencil marked, well, if they fall within the same cage and have the pencil markings in, that basically means they are locked in those 2 cells. And with that in mind, well, basically, the pencil marking means with the single 5 there has to be the 5 because, actually, no. With the single marking of 7 in this column, it basically means the 7 has to go in there. Also, the single marking 5 basically means the other digit cannot possibly be in there because if it is, we would have pencil marked them in already. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense, but basically, all the pencil markings of these 2 numbers would have been done correctly. So if the 5s weren't there, we would have a single 7 in that cell, and that means we've already marked in all the possible candidates of the 7 in this cage, and it doesn't fall into that cell, so that basically means that has to be the 7. But as a side effect as well, if you see a single candidate, it means the other possible candidate doesn't go in there, and in the case where we have 2 numbers and 2 cells, if there are 3, then you need to be more careful to make sure that all 3 numbers have been pencil marked in. And this only works if all of these empty cells fall in the same cage, basically. If they don't, then it's risky, basically. There are other logics that may be in place, but only assume that if the pencil markings are in the same column and the same cage. So mostly when they're in 2s. So 7s and 5s are resolvable, so that takes out the pencil marking 7 over there. So with that, the 5 are now locked in these 2 cells over here, and if I look over there as well, we don't know where they go. But that's all we can do for now. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go get a bit of tissue and blow my nose because I'm getting a bit bunged up now. Be right back. And I'm back. So, let's see. I think we were on 5s. No, hang on. We can't be on 5s because we've pencil marked in... No, I think we were on 5s maybe. So, I think that's all we can do with 5. So, let's have a look at 6s. Well, that 6 points into these 3 cells, forcing a 6 in here. And that in turn forces a pair of 6s in there. But if we look at this row, there are only 2 possible candidates left, so there have to be 4s and 6s, and that locks these 2 cells out of play because if one of them is a 4, the other has to be a 6. Therefore, no other numbers can go in there, so the remaining numbers have to go in the other 2 cells. And since we've got 2 cells, there have to be the 2 remaining digits, which are 7s and 9s. And with that, if we look at the column, since we formed another matching pair of 7s and 9s, if 7 goes in one cell, the 9 has to go into the other cell. And the same rule applies not just to the cage, but to the row as well, that no other numbers can go into these 2 cells. Therefore, that has to be the remaining number, which is a 4 in this case. So, let's see what else we can do. Well, that forces these 2 cells to be the 7 and 9s as well. So, we're making a little bit more progress now. So let's see, what else can we do? We have a triple here, so if we wanted to, we can pencil mark them in, but I'm going to be a bit stricter by not pencil marking them in because of the Snyder notations. So we're going to continue on with the 6s. So these 2 6s work in tandem, locking a pair of 6s over here. and it also forces another pair of 6s here because that acts as a pointer pair, locking this column. So look at that, we've got another 3-6 pair there, which means based on our previous rules, it means we can't have any other digits in those two cells, and that means the final cell in this column has to be the 1. And we just solved the 1, so now these two cells, we can actually pencil mark them in, and they are 4s and 2s. So, making slow progress. Just got to do something on my computer quickly, so let's see. Apologies for the unprofessionalism. Okay, that's that done, so let's come back to the Sudoku. Okay, so we were working on 6s before, weren't we? So let's continue on with the 6s. Actually, we have a 6 over here, so early on we should have spotted that when we pencil marked them in. I was slightly distracted by trying to sort something out on my computer. So this 6 erases that 6, and since the 3 and 6s have to go in one of the two cells, if I erase the 6, it has to be a 3, and a 6 goes into the other cell. So now these two 6s form a pair of 6s, and I think that is all the 6s pencil marked in the grid. Let's move on to 7s. 7s, I think most of the 7s are already pencil marked in. I do wonder if I actually did look at 7s and 8s before, but I might have changed the board a little bit and then forgot as I went to blow my nose, and came back resuming on the 6s. But I can't see any more 7s, so let's have a look at 8s. So I've already locked a pair of 8s over here, so it looks like we can't do much with the 8s because they all fall on rows or columns that are already either all pencil marked in or filled in already. So let's look at 9s instead. 9s, we seem to have the same problem where I've got two 9s acting on this row, and that's about it. In all the other directions, oh hang on, yeah, we've locked them in another triple in a column, so we can't do anything with that either. So we can't do anything in 9s. So what we can do now is we can do another round of pencil markings from 1 to 9, but the other thing we could do is look at the weak areas on the board. Let's see. So we have we got any pairs left on the board? I can't see any pairs. What I mean by pairs are basically kind of like these areas where on the row we've only got two cells left. And when we do, we can potentially deduce the numbers, but we haven't got any pairs. So what about triples? So triples, we'll be looking for 3 cells within a row, column or cage that we can look at. Again, we haven't got those, so with that in mind, I'm going to go around the board again and do some more pencil markings. Hopefully we do have more candidates to be pencil marked in. Looking at 1s, we haven't got anything. 2s, we've got 3 possible candidates in there, and we've pencil marked in the other 2s in the other cages. What about 3s? 3s, well, that 3 and that 3 actually locks a pair of 3s over here, but also this 3 actually sees a pencil marking 3, so that forces a 3 over there, which clears the 6, and that 6 forces the 4 and 6 to be resolvable. I think that's all I can do with that. What about the 4s? Now the 4 locks itself in those two cells because this 4 locks the column and that 4 locks the row. So what about the 6? Does that do anything else? Not that I can see. So I don't think I can do much more with that. So let's look at these two cells, which has to be the remaining digits. So they have to be 9s and 8s. So there we go. We can't deduce what they are yet because we don't know where the 9 or the 8 goes just yet. So let's see. Let's continue on with the 3s in that case. 3s, 3, 3, 3. So that 3 also cleans that pencil marking, so forcing the 3 in there. So these 2 3s locks. Another pair of 3s here because that row is taken by that 3. So we've done all the pencil marking in for all the 3s now. Let's move on to 4s then. 4s, 4, 4, 4. I can't see anything with 4s. What about 5s? 5s. So 5s, let's see, that 5 sees into those 2 cells and that 5 sees into that cell, so that forces the 5 over there, and as a pointed pair it erases another pencil marking because the 5 cannot go in any other cages within the same row, so that resolves that 5. I think that's all I can do with the 5, so let's look at 6s again. We've also created an 8-9 pair here, but still, we still don't know where the 9 or the 8 goes. So let's leave that alone for now. Even though we haven't got 9 pencil marked in here, remember, when the 2 cells on a row falls on separate cages, we can't make any assumptions about them at all. So just got to bear that in mind. So 6s. 6. I think all the 6s are already pencil marked in as well, so let's look at 7s. 7s, I can't see any 7s yet. I suspect 8 is in the same situation where I can't do anything with them yet. But 9, I think we can finally do some pencil marking in because now that now that these cells are populated, the 9 can only go in these cells. Although that doesn't give me much actually, it just gives me an extra set of pencil markings. So don't think we're being very successful, so I think we're going to continue on looking around the board until we exhausted all the possibilities. I've probably just missed something obvious, so let's see. 1s, 2s, 2, 2, 2, 3, 4s. I think 3s and 4s are all pencil marked in. No, that's a lie because I haven't got any pencil marking of 4s down here. So have I got anything going for me here? No, we can't. So 5s. 5, 5, 6. I think 6s are all pencil marked in. So I have a feeling we've hit a dead end now. So yeah, I can't find any other digits. So I think we do have to kind of do some more explorations. This is quite interesting because I did find it quite solvable early on with no candidates at all. So let's have a look at the weak areas again. So I've got a triple now this time. So as a quick tip, if you're looking at a weak area on a column or a row, if you see any pencil markings, assuming the pencil markings are correct, it's safe to say those are possible candidates. So I have to have 1 and 5 in one of these, in 2 of these remaining cells. So I just need to look for 1 digit, which is the 9. So if I look at this cell, I can see a 9 and a 5. That basically means the only possible candidate is a 1 in these 3 cells, basically, because 1, 5, and 9 has to go in one of these, has to go in these 3 cells, and 1 has to now go there because a 5 and a 9 sees into that cell. So now we're left with that pencil marking is now gone, meaning the 1 is forced into that cell, and that just erased an 8. So we've just resolved the 8 and the 9 on this row as well, which also resolves the 8 in this cage. That 9 sees up here, resolving the 7 and the 9. And does that 7 give me anything? It gives me a pair of pencil markings here because of that 7 and that 7. And does that give me anything else? What about here? 5 and 9. We still don't know where they are. Let's look at the other triple area now. So we've got a 9 in this row. We also have 8 and 8, 9 and 4. So 4, 8 and 9 belong in these 3 cells, but I can't find any cell that sees 2 of the digits. So I can't see 4 and 8, 4 and 9, or 8 and 9. So we can't resolve that just yet. So with that in mind, let's look around a bit more. Well, these are triples because they are 4, 2, 4, and 7. Because in the column they're locked in. So also we have another locked column here, and we've got a pair of 1s over here because of that 1. So in this column we've only got 1 digit left because we've got a matching pair there. It can't be 1 or 5, and therefore it has to be the 8. And I think that 8 will finally give us some help. Oh, maybe not. So I can see pencil markings for 8 locked in these cells because I've got a pair of 8s down here as well. The 1s and 5s don't resolve themselves. So let's look at this again. No, that hasn't changed yet. But with 8s locked out of those cells, I'm running out of things I can look at. Oh, hang on. I've got another triple area here. So this is really interesting because I can see a 7 and 9 here, and immediately I see a 7 and 9 looking into this cell. So it can't be 7 or 9. It has to be the remaining digit, and it has to be the 4, which erases that 4, which resolves the 2, 4, and 7 over there. And what else does it do? The 7 is now locked in that cell because of these 2 7s, so that just resolved the 6 and the 3, and the 3 points over here, resolving the 3, the 6 also points, and this cell resolving the 6 over here. I've got 1 and 5 on its row, so this has to be the 1 because I've got a 5 in there, so that has to be the 5, and that has to be the 1. So that's a nice chain reaction there. This cell locked as a pair, matching pair with the column. I see a 7, so it has to be the 9. So the 7 and the 9 are resolvable. So now I'm left with a single digit in here, which is a 5. So that 5 resolves the 5 over here. And we are left with 7. No, we're left with 9 and something else. But 9 goes in this, sees that cell, so that has to be the 9. And therefore that has to be the 4. And if the 4 goes there, well, again, on the row, we've got the 2 remaining cells locked in a cage. So using the previous rules, we can already assume that the 9 and the 8 goes in these corresponding cells. So that cleans the pencil markings of 9 and forces an 8 in there. So with that cleaned out, this forces a 2 in this cage, which resolves the 4 and the 2. And finally, the 4 is pushed into this cell, and the 1 in the final cell. So that is today's medium New York Times Sudoku using just the Snyder notations. I hope it's been helpful. Do let me know in the comments below if I'm going too fast or too slow. Please leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more videos. If it's been helpful, please leave a like. Otherwise, I shall see you tomorrow. Have a lovely weekend. Bye.